morning, Realtors. This is Nick checking in with you. It is Monday, November the 6th, and we're a few minutes late. We're barely catching the morning hour here. We had a special board of director briefing this morning, and I'm going to cover a couple of those points with you here today. But wanted to let you know that I survived Parents Weekend down in Gainesville. I'm glad to be back in the SCR offices today, although I miss my little girl. We had a great time catching up with Penelope and the whole family this past weekend. But glad to be back at work this morning, and I've got some important news to share. As the description, I guess, of our update, this is number 312 today for you. We have NAR's annual conference, which is called NAR NXT. I guess that's the cool, hip thing to do nowadays, huh, Mike, is to create little non-grammatically correct words to describe things. But NAR's annual conference, NXT, is being held starting Sunday in Anaheim, California. We have about 120 South Carolina realtors that will be representing us at the national meetings, and there is going to be a lot to talk about. And I wanted to cover at least two of those things with you here this morning. In addition to the business of the association, obviously there's a lot of fallout from the class action lawsuit verdict that was released last week, but there was also news regarding some key staffing positions. So let me start with that. NAR announced last week that Nakia Wright has been appointed as the interim Chief Executive Officer of NAR, and she'll be starting her position on November 20th, which will be just after the NXT meetings. Bob Goldberg, the current CEO, who announced his retirement back in June of this year, will serve as an executive consultant to help the interim CEO with the transition. NAR, as I've told you before, was already in the process and will continue their search process to identify a permanent CEO for the National Association. Just a little background on Nakia. She is what I call a doer. She is the former Chief Executive Officer of the Chicago Sun-Times, an entrepreneur, and a strategic advisor to leading companies and universities across the United States. She will be bringing this vast experience and expertise to her role, and the fact that she is an outsider. She is not an inside industry insider that will be taking over this role, which I think especially right now, as NAR is attempting to clean up from the harassment allegations and scandal that they've been dealing with over the last few months, I think it'll be vital. She's a fixer. She has a no-nonsense approach to cleaning corporations up. And I believe the strategy from NAR here is positive. If you care about NAR getting on the right course and moving in the right direction, she's going to be able to do something that I think a full-time, permanent CEO would not be able to do. And so I'm very encouraged by the news, and I'm looking forward to meeting Nakia next week. I'm hoping, Mike, to get her on a little interview so that I can let her introduce herself to all of you. So look for some live updates from the conference in Anaheim. So I'm excited about, and I believe the announcement is a positive one and a good one for realtors across the country. The other hot topic, of course, has been the verdict in the Bernett case and what that means for real estate and what that means for realtors in South Carolina in particular. Well, it's been almost a week since the verdict, and guess what? Real estate deals are still being transacted. Realtors are working with buyers. Realtors are working with sellers. And the business of real estate moves on. And as I've repeated last week, I'm going to keep repeating this message in the coming weeks. I encourage you within your companies to develop a strategy on how you're going to deal with questions from the public, because these headlines from the verdict now are making their way through almost every media source that I've seen. Over the weekend, I saw NPR, CNN, with headlines like "Our realtor fees a racket" and our commissions coming down and whatnot. The public is reading these headlines, as they should. And they'll probably be reaching out to you and asking you questions about your compensation, about how, what scope of services do you provide that member of the public, the consumer, the client that you're working with. You've got to develop your strategy for addressing these questions, and it all starts with your service, your value proposition that you have as a realtor, as a company, as a firm, as an agency. And it's up to you, it's incumbent upon you. Number one, make sure your listing agreements, your buyer agency agreements are presented and explained and signed in a timely manner. And that, as I've mentioned, as you've heard me say before, South Carolina is one of only 18 states. I don't think that number is going to stay 18 for very long, but we're only one of 18 that has mandatory buyer agency in our state real estate license law. And I think other states are going to see what we've done. You know, while we're disappointed with the verdict out of Kansas City, I think this is an opportunity to highlight the steps that South Carolina has taken to protect consumers and home buyers in our state. For decades, since the early 90s, South Carolina has provided for and enforced home buyer focused laws, which include a requirement, as I've mentioned, that home buyers are informed about and that they sign a buyer agency agreement when working with a realtor. And that agreement explains the scope of agent services. It explains their compensation. And I have to tell you, we take great pride at the dedication of our members of our industry who champion the wealth building potential of home ownership while protecting private property rights, which all of what we do helps build and promote and advocate for our communities. We know that working with a South Carolina realtor is the best decision that consumers are going to make, because you provide the expertise, the local knowledge, the local information on what it takes to buy a home. And, you know, again, we're seeing, you know, for me, it's a little deja vu. We're seeing the same, you know, when the internet took out travel agents and impacted more recently automobile dealers with the Tesla model of online sales. The media is quick to jump and say, well, you know, the real estate industry is long overdue for this disruption. You know, technology, the internet has made it easy for buyers to find and purchase a home. And I think you would agree with me in that the internet has made it harder. And there's never been a more important time to have an advisor, a trusted counselor, an advocate for the buyer or the seller in the sale or purchase of a home. And these media guys and gals are missing it completely. And the system that the plaintiffs' lawyers and these others are advocating for would leave such a broad swath of Americans, of South Carolinians, having no representation during what's likely the largest financial transaction they'll ever make. And it leaves them out in the cold. And I think that's the story that we have to tell and that we have to continue to share with our members. And I would tell you, focus on your business plan, focus on selling real estate, focus on servicing your clients, your buyers and your sellers. And we'll see what happens. You know, these court cases are nowhere near finished yet. There may be other cases. You know, we know there's one already been filed. There may be others that come up behind it. The Department of Justice may get involved. You can't sit around and worry about all the what-if scenarios. you got to focus on your business plan now, and I would be doubling down on that. So there will be updates next week on the lawsuits, kind of a what's next scenario. There's a couple of cool sessions on buyer agency that I thought were interesting. We're going to go and take some good notes. Again, it's very unusual for us in South Carolina to talk about explaining buyer compensation and buyer agency when we've had these requirements for so long. But keep in mind that for many of our fellow realtors across the country, this is a brand new day for them, and that gives us a little bit of advantage going into what are certainly some challenging and uncertain times. So with that, I will tell all of our realtors traveling to Anaheim to make sure that we run into each other somewhere in the trade show or the expo, and make sure that you reach out. We've got one great South Carolina event while we're there, and hope to see you there. Travel safe, and realtors, stay strong, and make sure you reach out and let us know how we can be of better service to you as we navigate these waters. So in the meantime, we will, I guess the next time you'll see me, I'll be broadcasting from Anaheim, hopefully. Who knows, there may be more updates this week. Lately, the news has been coming fast and furious. But in the meantime, we'll see you again real soon. Take care, and safe travels for those going out to California this weekend. See you later, everybody.